What you are about to discover has been deliberately concealed within the manuscripts that built empires. Manuscripts that billionaires study in private libraries, while the masses consume surface knowledge designed to maintain the status quo. These ancient texts, written in code by masters of consciousness, contain principles so powerful that merely understanding them shifts the very fabric of your reality. The wealthy do not accumulate knowledge for entertainment. They seek specific frequencies of wisdom that reconstruct their mental architecture, allowing them to operate from a completely different bandwidth of possibility. What separates those who transform information into gold from those who collect information like trophies is their recognition that all true wealth begins as an internal phenomenon before it materializes as external abundance. The manuscripts they cherish were never about money. They were about consciousness itself, about the hidden mechanics of manifestation, about becoming the type of being that wealth naturally flows toward, rather than the type that chases it desperately. Consider this carefully. Every fortune that has lasted beyond a single generation was built by someone who understood that reality responds to frequency, not effort. The ancient masters who authored these secret texts knew something that modern education systematically avoids teaching. They understood that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but is the fundamental substance from which all experience emerges. This understanding changes everything, because it reveals that your external circumstances are not happening to you, but are being projected from within you. The millionaires who study these manuscripts are not seeking motivation or inspiration. They are studying the laws of consciousness itself, learning to operate as the causative principle in their own lives, rather than as victims of circumstance. This is why their wealth seems almost magical to observers. They have learned to work with forces that most people do not even know exist. The first secret these manuscripts reveal is that identity is not discovered but decided. Your current results are not a measure of your potential, but a measurement of your current identity. What you believe yourself to be determines what you perceive as possible, and what you perceive as possible determines what you attempt. And what you attempt with genuine conviction becomes your experience. The wealthy understand this sequence so deeply that they never waste energy trying to change circumstances directly. They change themselves at the level of identity, knowing that new identity automatically produces new perceptions, new possibilities, new actions, new results. This is not positive thinking or visualization. This is recognizing that you are not a physical being, having a consciousness experience, but consciousness itself having a physical experience. From this perspective, changing your life becomes as simple as changing your mind. But changing your mind requires you to understand how mind actually functions beyond the superficial level most people operate from. The second secret hidden in these texts is that assumption creates reality, far more powerfully than action creates results. What you assume to be true about yourself, about money, about success, about possibility itself, becomes the invisible template from which your experience is constructed. The elite do not hope for success or work towards success. They assume success is their natural state and then allow their assumptions to organize their perception and behavior automatically. This is why their confidence appears unshakable to others. They are not confident about achieving something in the future. They are confident because they have already achieved it in consciousness, which is where all achievements must first occur before they can appear in the physical world. Your assumptions are running constantly in the background of your awareness, filtering what you notice, interpreting what events mean, determining what opportunities you even recognize as opportunities. Change your assumptions and you change your entire world without changing your geographic location or your social circumstances. The third principle that millionaires extract from ancient manuscripts is that consciousness operates according to law, not according to hope or wishful thinking. Just as physical laws govern physical phenomena, mental laws govern mental phenomena, and these laws are completely impersonal. They work the same way for everyone, but most people remain ignorant of them, and therefore experience themselves as victims of random forces. The law of assumption states that whatever you assume to be true will be confirmed by your experience. The law of correspondence reveals that your outer world will always mirror your inner world with mathematical precision. The law of vibration shows that like frequencies attract like frequencies, which means you can only attract what you are already resonating with internally. These are not beliefs or philosophies. These are descriptions of how consciousness actually functions, and understanding them allows you to work with reality rather than against it. What makes these manuscripts so dangerous to the existing power structure is that they reveal wealth as a frequency rather than a possession. When you understand wealth as frequency, you realize that you can embody that frequency right now, regardless of your current bank account balance. The frequency of wealth is characterized by internal abundance, by feeling genuinely grateful for what you already have while simultaneously knowing that more is always available, by operating from sufficiency rather than scarcity, by making decisions based on your vision rather than your current limitations. Those who maintain this frequency consistently find that opportunities begin appearing everywhere, that resources become available in unexpected ways, that people want to support their endeavors, that what they need shows up precisely when they need it. This is not luck or coincidence. This is the universe responding to the frequency you are broadcasting. The ancient authors of these secret texts understood that most people live in a state of perpetual wanting, which creates a frequency of lack that repels the very things they claim to desire. Wanting is different from having. When you want something, you are declaring that you do not have it, and the universe, which only responds to what you are being right now, continues to give you the experience of not having it. The wealthy have learned to live in the frequency of already having, which means they feel abundant before the money appears. They feel successful before the achievement manifests. They feel grateful before the blessing arrives. This internal state of having automatically magnetizes external experiences that match that internal reality. They do not wait for circumstances to change their state. They change their state to change their circumstances. The fourth secret these manuscripts contain is that resistance is creation in reverse. Whatever you resist persists because resistance is a form of focused attention, and attention is the creative force of consciousness. Most people create their lives accidentally by giving prolonged attention to what they do not want, while claiming to focus on what they do want. They think about debt while claiming to focus on abundance. They worry about failure while claiming to work toward success. They complain about their current situation while claiming to create something better. The universe responds to where your attention actually goes, not where you claim it goes. The elite have trained themselves to withdraw attention from what they do not want and place attention only on what they intend to create. This requires extraordinary mental discipline because the mind has been conditioned to scan for problems, to focus on what is wrong, to rehearse worst-case scenarios. Breaking this pattern requires conscious effort until new patterns become automatic. The fifth principle hidden in these ancient texts is that time is an illusion that only operates in physical reality. In consciousness, everything exists simultaneously in an eternal now. Your future self, the one who has already achieved what you currently desire, exists right now in the realm of possibility. The bridge between your current experience and that future possibility is not time, but frequency. When you align your current frequency with the frequency of that future self, the physical manifestation happens as quickly as possible, given the natural laws governing physical reality. This is why some people achieve their goals incredibly quickly, while others struggle for years without progress. It is not about talent or luck. It is about frequency alignment. The wealthy understand this so deeply that they live as their future selves today, making decisions from that elevated identity rather than from their current circumstances. The manuscripts reveal that there are only two ways to live. You can live as a victim of circumstances, believing that your experience is determined by forces outside your control, waiting for someone or something to rescue you, hoping that luck will eventually favor you, working harder and harder while remaining at the same level of results. Or you can live as the creator of circumstances, knowing that your experience flows from your consciousness, taking complete responsibility for everything that appears in your life, operating from the understanding that you are the one you have been waiting for. The first way of living keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of effort without results. The second way opens the door to effortless manifestation, because you are working with the fundamental laws of reality rather than against them. What the wealthy understand from these ancient texts is that success is not about doing more, but about being more. The person you must become to create the life you want already knows everything you need to know and automatically takes all the right actions. Your job is not to figure out what to do. Your job is to become the type of person who naturally does what needs to be done. This happens through a process the manuscripts call assumption. You assume the identity of your successful future self and then live from that assumption until it becomes your natural state of being. This is not pretending or acting. This is recognizing that identity is a choice, not a fact, and choosing the identity that serves your highest vision for your life. The sixth secret contained in these manuscripts is that imagination is not fantasy, but is actually the workshop of creation. Everything that exists in physical reality first existed in someone's imagination. Your imagination is your direct connection to the field of infinite possibility, and learning to consciously direct your imagination is the ultimate creative skill. The wealthy spend time daily in imagination, not daydreaming about what might happen, but actually constructing detailed mental experiences of their intended future. They see themselves living in that future, feel the emotions of that future, make decisions from that future, until that imagined future becomes more real to them than their current circumstances. When imagination becomes more real than current conditions must change to match imagination, because consciousness always externalizes what it accepts as true. The seventh principle these secret texts teach is that gratitude is not about being thankful for what you have, but is actually a frequency of abundance that attracts more abundance. When you feel genuinely grateful, you are broadcasting the frequency of having, which magnetizes more experiences that generate that same feeling. Most people use gratitude as a strategy to get more, which means they are actually coming from lack and using gratitude to try to manipulate the universe. True gratitude comes from recognizing that you already have everything you need to be happy and successful right now, and this recognition creates a magnetic field that draws opportunities, resources, and relationships that amplify your natural abundance. The wealthy feel abundant because they focus on abundance, and they focus on abundance because they choose to notice the abundance that is already present in their lives. The eighth secret revealed in these ancient manuscripts is that the subconscious mind is not your mind, but is actually the creative medium through which consciousness produces physical experience. Your subconscious beliefs, assumptions, and patterns operate like a filter that determines what you perceive as possible and what you perceive as impossible. Most people try to change their lives through conscious effort, while their subconscious patterns remain unchanged, which is why they work hard but stay stuck. The elite understand that lasting change requires reprogramming the subconscious, and they do this through repetition, emotion, and assumption. And they repeatedly assume new beliefs until those beliefs become automatic. They generate emotion around their intended future until that future feels more real than their current circumstances, and they maintain new assumptions until those assumptions become their natural way of perceiving reality. What makes these manuscripts so powerful is that they teach wealth as a mental state rather than a material accumulation. When you understand wealth as a state of consciousness, you realize that you can access that state immediately, and from that state, material wealth becomes inevitable. The wealthy feel rich before they become rich, and feeling rich is what makes them attractive to opportunities that create material riches. This is not self-deception or positive thinking. This is understanding that consciousness creates experience, not the other way around. Your feelings about money determine your relationship with money, and your relationship with money determines how much money flows through your life. Change your internal relationship with money, and you change your external experience of money. The ninth principle hidden in these texts is that decision is creation. Every decision you make creates a new timeline, a new possibility, a new version of your future. Most people make decisions based on their current circumstances, which keeps them trapped in variations of their current experience. The wealthy make decisions based on their intended future, which creates a bridge between where they are and where they want to be. When you make decisions from your future self, you automatically begin attracting the circumstances, opportunities, and resources that support those decisions. Decision-making is not about choosing between existing options. Decision-making is about choosing which future you want to experience, and then aligning all your choices with that future until it becomes your present reality. The 10th secret these manuscripts contain is that persistence is not about continuing to do what is not working, but is about maintaining your internal state, regardless of external circumstances. The wealthy persist not in action, but in assumption. They maintain their assumption of success even when current evidence suggests otherwise. They hold to their vision, even when others call them unrealistic. They keep their frequency aligned with their intended future, even when their current experience seems to contradict their goals. This kind of persistence requires tremendous faith, not in external forces but in the fundamental laws of consciousness. When you understand that consciousness is the only true cause, and that everything else is effect, you realize that maintaining the right internal state will eventually produce the right external results, because that is how consciousness operates. The 11th principle revealed in these ancient texts is that everything you need already exists and is simply waiting for your recognition. The resources, opportunities, connections, and circumstances required for your success exist right now in the field of possibility. Your job is not to create them but to recognize them, and you recognize them by matching their frequency. When you embody the frequency of success, successful opportunities become visible to you. When you embody the frequency of abundance, abundant resources reveal themselves to you. When you embody the frequency of love, loving relationships appear in your experience. The universe is not withholding anything from you. You are withholding yourself from the universe by operating at frequencies that do not match what you claim to want. The 12th secret these manuscripts teach is that mastery comes through embodiment, not through information. You can study success principles for decades without experiencing success if you do not embody those principles at the level of identity. Embodiment means that these principles become your natural way of being, rather than concepts you try to apply. The wealthy do not work to become successful. They embody success as their natural state, and then allow that state to express itself through their decisions, actions, and results. This is why their success appears effortless to others. They are not trying to create something they do not have. They are expressing something they already are. The 13th secret contained in these ancient texts is that your outer world will always reflect your inner world with absolute precision. If you want to know what is going on in your consciousness, look at your results. If you want different results, change your consciousness. This is not about blame or judgment. This is about recognizing your creative power and taking responsibility for how you are using it. Most people blame their circumstances for their feelings, but the truth is that your feelings create your circumstances. Most people blame other people for their experience, but the truth is that other people can only give you what you are already giving yourself internally. When you change how you relate to yourself, everyone changes how they relate to you. When you change your internal story, your external story must change to match, because consciousness always externalizes itself as experience. The 14th principle these manuscripts reveal is that energy flows where attention goes, and whatever receives your consistent attention expands in your experience. The wealthy understand this so completely that they refuse to give attention to anything that does not serve their vision. They do not watch news programs that fill their minds with fear and limitation. They do not engage in conversations that focus on problems rather than solutions. They do not allow their attention to be captured by the drama and chaos that most people find irresistibly entertaining. Instead, they direct their attention toward their goals, their vision, their intended future, and their current blessings. This is not about being positive or optimistic. This is about understanding that attention is the creative force of consciousness and using it deliberately rather than accidentally. The 15th secret hidden in these texts is that your beliefs are not facts about reality, but are filters that determine what version of reality you experience. Reality itself is neutral and infinite in its possibilities, but your beliefs act like a lens that focuses your experience into a specific pattern. Most people inherit their beliefs from their family, their culture, their education, and their past experiences, never questioning whether these beliefs serve their highest good. The wealthy consciously choose beliefs that empower them and support their vision, regardless of whether these beliefs can be proven or disproven by current evidence. They understand that beliefs are tools, not truths, and they choose tools that help them create the life they want, rather than tools that justify the life they currently have. The 16th principle these manuscripts teach is that your self-concept is your destiny. How you see yourself determines what you attempt, what you expect, what you accept, and what you reject. If you see yourself as limited, you will live a limited life. If you see yourself as powerful, you will live a powerful life. If you see yourself as abundant, you will live abundantly. If you see yourself as worthy, you will create worthiness. The wealthy spend enormous amounts of time and energy crafting their self-concept, not through affirmations or positive thinking, but through assumption and experience. They assume they are the type of person who naturally creates wealth, and they live from that assumption until it becomes their automatic way of being. This is not about convincing yourself of something that is not true. This is about recognizing that self-concept is always a choice, and choosing a self-concept that aligns with your highest vision for your life. The 17th secret contained in these ancient manuscripts is that feeling is the secret to all manifestation. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you feel. You do not manifest what you think about, you manifest what you feel about. You do not create from your desires, you create from your dominant emotional states. The wealthy understand this so deeply that they prioritize their emotional state above everything else. They know that feeling abundant is more important than having abundance, that feeling successful is more important than achieving success, that feeling grateful is more important than receiving more to be grateful for. When you can generate the feeling of having what you want before you actually have it, you create a magnetic field that draws the physical manifestation to you. This is not about positive emotion or negative emotion. This is about alignment between your internal state and your desired external reality. The 18th principle these texts reveal is that consistency creates compound results, not just in action, but in assumption, in feeling, in identity, in focus. Most people are consistent in their inconsistency. They assume success one day and failure the next. They feel abundant in the morning and scarce by evening. They focus on their vision when they feel good, and on their problems when they feel bad. The wealthy maintain consistency in their internal states regardless of external circumstances. They wake up as the same identity every day. They maintain the same assumptions through all conditions. They feel the same core emotions whether they are experiencing success or facing challenges. This consistency creates a powerful momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. The 19th secret hidden in these manuscripts is that creation happens in the invisible realm before it appears in the visible realm. What you see with your physical eyes is always the result of something that happened first in consciousness. By the time something appears in your physical experience, it is old news from the perspective of consciousness. The wealthy focus most of their attention on the invisible realm of imagination, assumption, and feeling, knowing that mastering the invisible realm gives them complete control over the visible realm. They do not wait for external evidence to believe in their success. They create internal evidence first, and then external evidence must follow, because that is how consciousness operates. The 20th principle these ancient texts teach is that space and time are constructs of physical reality, but do not exist in consciousness. In consciousness, everything is here and now. Your past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal moment of now. This means you can change your past by changing your story about your past. You can create your future by feeling your future now. And you can transform your present by choosing a different perspective on your present circumstances. The wealthy do not allow themselves to be limited by linear thinking about time and space. They know that consciousness can collapse time and space to create what appears to be miraculous results. They live in the recognition that everything they want already exists in the realm of possibility and is simply waiting for their recognition and acceptance. The 21st secret contained in these manuscripts is that problems are not obstacles to overcome, but are invitations to upgrade your level of consciousness. Every problem you face is an opportunity to become a bigger version of yourself. The wealthy do not try to solve problems from the same level of consciousness that created the problems. They use problems as stepping stones to higher levels of awareness, understanding, and capability. When you approach problems from this perspective, Problems become gifts rather than burdens, opportunities rather than obstacles, invitations rather than punishments. The 22nd principle these texts reveal is that your dominant thoughts create your dominant experiences. Whatever you think about most often becomes your reality, most powerfully. Most people think predominantly about their current circumstances, their past experiences, their current problems, and their current limitations. This creates a mental loop that keeps recreating variations of what they already know and already have. The wealthy think predominantly about their intended future, their expanding possibilities, their growing capabilities, and their unlimited potential. This creates a mental momentum toward the experiences they want to create, rather than the experiences they want to escape. The 23rd secret hidden in these ancient manuscripts is that your words have creative power, because words carry frequency, and frequency creates experience. The wealthy are extremely careful about the words they use to describe themselves, their circumstances, and their possibilities. They never speak of themselves as poor, limited, stuck, or powerless. They never describe their circumstances as hopeless, impossible, or permanent. They never talk about their possibilities as unrealistic, unlikely, or unattainable. Instead, they use words that reinforce their intended identity, support their vision, and maintain their emotional alignment with their goals. They understand that every word is a command to the universe and choose their words as carefully as they choose their investments. The 24th principle these texts teach is that habit is destiny. Your current results are the inevitable outcome of your current habits, not just your physical habits, but your mental habits, your emotional habits, your spiritual habits. Most people try to create new results while maintaining old habits, which is impossible, because habits create results automatically and unconsciously. The wealthy focus on creating habits that automatically produce the results they want, rather than trying to produce results through conscious effort. They develop habits of thinking like wealthy people, feeling like wealthy people, speaking like wealthy people, and acting like wealthy people until these habits become so natural that wealth becomes inevitable. The 25th secret contained in these manuscripts is that everything you need to know is already within you, waiting to be remembered rather than learned. Knowledge is not something you acquire from outside yourself, but something you access from within yourself. The wealthy understand that they already possess all the wisdom, creativity, intelligence, and capability they need to create anything they want. Their job is not to gather more information, but to remove the mental obstacles that prevent them from accessing their innate wisdom. This happens through meditation, contemplation, assumption, and surrender to their higher knowing. The 26th principle these ancient texts reveal is that your environment is a reflection of your consciousness and also shapes your consciousness. The wealthy carefully curate their environment to support their vision and reinforce their identity. They surround themselves with people who share their values and support their goals. They create physical spaces that inspire them and remind them of their possibilities. They consume information that elevates their thinking and expands their awareness. They participate in activities that align with their identity and contribute to their growth. They understand that environment and consciousness create each other in an endless feedback loop, and they consciously design both to support their highest expression. The 27th secret hidden in these texts is that certainty creates results far more powerfully than effort creates results. When you are certain that something will happen, your certainty organizes your perception, your decisions, your actions, and your energy around making it happen. When you are uncertain, your uncertainty creates hesitation, inconsistency, and resistance that prevent your desired outcomes. The wealthy cultivate certainty not through evidence, but through decision. They decide what they want, and then become certain it will happen, regardless of current circumstances or past experiences. This certainty becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because consciousness always finds a way to validate its dominant beliefs. The 28th principle these manuscripts teach is that receiving is as important as giving, and most people block their good by being unwilling to receive. The wealthy understand that the universe operates through circulation, and blocking the flow in one direction blocks the flow in all directions. They are generous givers and gracious receivers, understanding that both are necessary for the natural flow of abundance. They do not feel guilty about their success or apologetic about their wealth. They receive their good with gratitude and use it as a platform for creating even more good for themselves and others. The 29th secret contained in these ancient texts is that comparison is the enemy of creation. When you compare yourself to others, you are operating from the illusion of separation rather than from the truth of unity. The wealthy do not compete with others because they understand that there is no scarcity in the realm of possibility. Someone else's success does not diminish their potential for success. Someone else's wealth does not reduce the amount of wealth available to them. They celebrate the success of others because other people's success proves that success is possible, and they use other people's achievements as inspiration rather than as evidence of their own inadequacy. The 30th and final secret these manuscripts reveal is that love is the highest frequency and the most powerful creative force in the universe. The wealthy operate from love, not just in their personal relationships, but in their business dealings, their financial decisions, and their creative endeavors. They love what they do. They love the people they serve. They love the value they create, and they love the abundance that flows through their lives. This love creates a magnetic field that attracts opportunities, resources, relationships, and experiences that match that frequency of love. When you operate from love, you become irresistible to the universe because love is what the universe is made of, and the universe cannot resist its own essence. Understanding these principles intellectually changes nothing. Living these principles changes everything. The manuscripts that millionaires study are not meant to be read, but are meant to be lived. Not to be understood, but to be embodied. Not to be believed, but to be experienced. Your current life is the result of consciousness principles that you have been applying unconsciously. Your future life will be the result of consciousness principles that you apply consciously. The choice between unconscious creation and conscious creation is the choice between being a victim and being a master, between hoping things will change and knowing they must change, between working in the world and having the world work for you. The moment you truly understand that consciousness is the only true cause, everything changes. The moment you recognize that your assumptions create your experience, you become free to choose new assumptions. The moment you realize that your identity determines your reality, you become free to choose a new identity. The moment you know that your frequency attracts your experience, you become free to choose a new frequency. This is the ultimate secret contained in every manuscript that has ever created lasting wealth. Consciousness is cause, everything else is effect, and when you align with this fundamental truth, the entire universe becomes your collaborator rather than your adversary. What you do with this knowledge will determine whether you join the ranks of those who know or remain among those who hope, whether you become someone who creates wealth or someone who chases it, whether you live as consciousness itself or continue to believe you are merely a physical being having a temporary experience. The choice is yours. The knowledge is now yours, and the universe is waiting to respond to whatever choice you make.